My name is Mujib. I'm founder and CEO for Clinosol Research Private Limited. I have done my master's in pharmacology and MS in clinical research. I have overall 15 years of experience in pharmaceutical industries, and I have worked in IT companies, I have worked in CROs, I have worked in as medical writer, data manager, and pharmacovigilance, and also have worked as a project manager. So today my focus of the slides will be on what is a career scope for Unani doctors. And before I start the slides, I would like to personally thank FUMO and the organizing committee of this session who have done endless efforts to make sure that this session is being done in a right way. So I'll share my screen and I'll be showing you what is the career scope of Unani doctors and where Unani doctors can be working on this lines. So I hope you are able to see my screen and I'm making it as big. So today's topic is career scope in clinical research and growth and opportunities and a way forward. So how we can see the clinical research. Now, a general life cycle of drug research. So before I start the session, I would like to focus on a point saying that we are working on international regulations and international countries, different organizations and different countries, and either it is Unani product or it is allopathy product or any vaccine or a drug or device, it has to cross the following barriers if you are going for international market. So the first one is you go into a drug development and discovery where you say it as you test it on your test tubes or labs. And then once you have identified some 4 or 5 molecules, you will go and start testing that 4 or 5 molecules on the animals. And once you have started doing animals, you will identify the maximum tolerable dose and TD50, LD50 and safety and efficacy of the animals, which are very relevant to human beings. They will test on different kinds of animals, different kinds of species, different kinds of genders, and come up with a safety and efficacy endpoints. Once the animal testing is been done, you will go for IND submission, which is investigational new drug application submission to a regulatory bodies that you have identified a new molecule which can cure a X disease or a Y disease, or you have a new device for the human beings. Once the preclinical studies are being completed, you will be turning to the human studies or clinical trial phases, which is clinical trials from phase 0 to phase 3. Now, once you started doing the phase 1, 2 or phase 0 to 3, like phase 0 is considered as microdosing trials and phase 1 is considered as human pharmacology studies and phase 2 is considered as therapeutic exploratory trials and phase 3 is considered as therapeutic confirmatory trials. Each trial has a different objectives, each trial has a different sample size, each trial has different kinds of clinical trials to be considered and conducted in different kinds of population, including targeted population, to understand the safety and efficacy of the clinical trials. Once you start doing the clinical trials and you get vast amount of data, and where you will analyze the data and you start submitting this data to the regulatory bodies in the form of NDA, which is new drug submission and approval for the drug. And once that approval is been done, you will go for regulatory approval. And once regulatory bodies have approved it, you go for phase 4, which is post-marketing surveillance. So this is a typical life cycle. And I wanted to show you this picture as a funnel, saying that here you have more drugs when you start up, and when you end up, you will have only one drug. So it means that you may come up and say that, okay, 10 drugs have the efficacy. But when you go to preclinical trials, the 4 or 5 drugs may get failed. And during clinical trials, you may get 4 or 5 trials, 5 drugs may fail. And only you will get only one drug at the end. So which is prospective, safe, and having a full efficacy of the drug. So this is the life cycle of a drug, irrespective of allopathy or Unani or any kind of drug. So now if you are thinking to start your own research in Unani, or you wanted to show Unani drug research to the international standards, then you just have to follow this picture where you can conduct the clinical trials. Now, I will focus on the most of important things. The main clinical trial life cycle is you have the preclinical trials, which is animal studies, and phase one, where you have only few subjects, where only few numbers below 100 subjects will be participated, and these are healthy subjects. And very rarely you may take targeted populations like cancer and HIV, but 90% you will have healthy populations to make sure that your MTD and safety studies are being understood clearly. And you will go for next one, expanded safety and dose escalation studies in phase 2, which is therapeutic exploratory trials, where targeted population is being tested in pilot studies and pivotal studies, and the first time the efficacy testing is being tested in the phase 2. And phase 3 comes in a larger populations with a huge number of patients, and different kinds of races and multicentric trials are being conducted in phase 3. So where main objective is to understand the safety and efficacy of the drugs and definitive assessments of the doses for the confirmation of the drug. And a quick recap of the drug discovery process, the stages of drug discovery. So discovery and development, research is needed for new drug begins from laboratory. So this is a historic statement that you go and start doing lab and you test a new drug and come to the market. But now it's the opposite. Earlier we used to say lab to hospital or lab to patient, bench to patient. But now we have a patient to bench, which means that you have a patient who is suffering from a very rare kind of disease. You take that particular disease, you understand that particular disease, you go back to a lab, and then you come up with a particular treatment of the drug. So that is what you call it as lab to the patient and patient to the lab. So now it is patient to the lab. And preclinical trials, during this drugs undergo laboratory testings, in vitro studies and animal studies, which is in vivo studies, to answer the basic questions about the safety and efficacy. And then your main focus comes as clinical research, which is clinical trials. Drugs are being tested on human beings to make sure that they are having safety and they are having effectiveness. And FDA will review, thoroughly examine all submitted data. All the data submitted to them related to the drug or device and make decisions to approve it or to reject the drug based on the data which has been submitted by the company to the FDA. And FDA here, why I have given FDA is most of countries, most of companies go for FDA approval, which is US FDA. And then you go for phase 4 trials, which is post-marketing studies, which is post-marketing safety monitoring studies, where all the drugs and devices are available for human use or for the public use, and a very stipulated studies are being conducted to understand very careful examination of the trials safety. Long-term safety of the drugs are being tested in the post-marketing safety monitoring studies. And now, what are essential to start clinical trials? Now, I will speak about this. The first team who comes into clinical trials, the scope of Unani doctors where they can work is as medical writers. And the medical writers are the people who develops this following documents. The first document is investigative brochure. A combination of or a compilation of clinical and non-clinical data is investigative brochure. So wherein you will give all the information about the drug product, investigational medicinal product in the investigator brochure. And the next one, you will have to have a clinical trial protocol where you will be giving your design, objective, and you will be given about statistical analysis, inclusion, exclusion criteria, selection and withdrawal, methodologies, and procedures used to conduct the clinical trial, and background information about the drug and diseases. So these are all information which will be developed by the medical writers. The first team where you can work is you have to design your study. And the person who are responsible for designing the study is a medical writer. And subject information and informed consent form, the voluntary consent to be taken by the subject before they participate into any trial is subject information and informed consent form. And CSRs At the end of the trials, the clinical trials are being conducted, data is being collected and analyzed, and they are written in the report, and which is called as clinical study report. And data collection tool like CRF, a printed or optical document which is used to collect the patient required information as per the protocol to be submitted to the sponsor from each subject is called as case report form. So these are all the list of documents where Unani doctors can work, and these jobs are already there in IT companies and CROs and pharma companies where they can develop this clinical trial related documents, which jobs are called as medical writing. Once you have developed a protocol and medical writing documents. So what are the qualities you see in a good medical writer? So the first thing is you should have good domain knowledge. So in different therapeutic areas like oncology or diabetes or different regulations, you need to have knowledge, and knowing your audience is most important, and you should have a very good writing skills, and you should have always integrity of the data, maintaining accuracy, consistency of the data, securing the data by maintaining the GDP's good documentation practices. These are the qualities of medical writers, keeping yourself updated. So keep on learning, have a clarity on what has to be done. And then quality content of the documents is most important. Literature search, how to search the literature documents. An independent outlook is most important. Interpersonal skills and project management skills to work across the teams, the timelines, the budgetings, and the costing amount for the conducting of clinical trials, the medical writing documents. Now, what happens to the subject? Now, assume that the clinical trial is started. We have developed a protocol. And from protocol, we will develop the case report form. And from case report form, we will develop a database or a tool. So here medical writers will come into picture. CRF development, your CDM clinical data managers will come to a picture, and where they will collect the data and validate the data. So data management will come, and then you will go for a data analysis, and finally you will have a report writing. So it starts with report writing, and it goes into data management, data validation, and statistical analysis, and finally you will submit a report. And each of the stream, maybe it is medical writing, clinical data management, statistical analysis, and a report writing. All of the streams you can work in companies as a professional medical writers, data managers, statistical analysts, and report writing. Pharmacovigilance, how the pharmacovigilance happens. Okay, so now any adverse events or drug related risks has to be maintained by the MAH, which is marketing authorization holders. You will get the cases of adverse events, either it is from clinical trials or spontaneous case or from the MICCs or from the literatures. Once you intake the cases, you process the case, and the processing team is called as case processing in pharmacovigilance, which includes your triage, data entries and query process, QC of the case, and closure of the case. So wherein you will have different kinds of team. One is triage team and processing team. And once the individual case is completed, you go for aggregate reporting between a period of 6 months or 1 year, and you will output a data with the help of signal detection and risk management plans like February reports. So here are the jobs you have in pharmacovigilance. One is you can work in MICC roles, you can work in triage team, you can work in case processing team, you can work in medical writing team, medical review team, you can work in aggregate reporting team, you can also work in signal management team like signal detection team or other kind of areas. So these are the areas in pharmacovigilance where you can work. As per WHO, pharmacovigilance is been defined as signs and activities which are relates with detection, understanding, assessments, and prevention of adverse events and drug-related risks. So it includes the adverse events and also the drug-related risks. Now, these are the pharmacovigilance. Once you get adverse event, you will intake the case and you will process the case and you will report the case to the health authorities, also to the different companies of business partners where you can report the adverse events. Now, the careers. What are the different careers what we have? As I said you, in clinical trials, you have a job called a CRA, CRC, investigator. As a doctors, you can become an investigator for Unani hospitals and ethics committee coordinators, and you have monitors and TMF team. So I'll repeat where we can work in clinical trials team when we conduct CRA, CRC, ethics committee coordinator, TMF, and also the project managers. And once clinical trial are being completed, you can work in clinical data management where the data collection and validation of data will be conducted and data logging will be conducted. Here are the jobs. You may work as study designers, you may work as UAT team, you may work as discrepancy management team, and you may work as reconciliation team also in clinical data management. I'll repeat, the data collection and validation of data which is being conducted in clinical trials is clinical data management, and the different jobs what we have is study designers, UAT team, and discrepancy management team, and database log team. And once the data collection and validation is completed, you will go for statistical analysis. And here is the statistical analysis. The programmers will be there who will be developing TLFs, tables, listings, and figures, who will be giving the generation of data into a reportable format. And you may have one more kind of job, which is clinical pharmacist, and you will have the jobs as drug safety associate, medical reviewer, signal management team, aggregate reports, and also the triage team. So these are the different kind of jobs where you can work. You can work in IT companies, you can work in CROs, you can work in hospitals, you can work in pharma companies, you can work under regulatory bodies, you can work in ethics committees also. These are the places where you can work in the clinical research, irrespective of clinical trials, data management, pharmacovigilance, SAS, and medical writing. So what is actually Clinosol is doing? So Clinosol is giving different kinds of courses, which includes your clinical trials, clinical research, data management, pharmacovigilance, and clinical SAS, regulatory affairs, and clinical data mapping, and project management, and medical affairs, and medical review teams. So now we have the following courses: integrated PG diploma in clinical research and project management, which takes 6 months of time, where you will be learning about clinical research, data management, pharmacovigilance, and clinical science and medical writing. Advanced diploma in data science and clinical research, which means that you will be learning about clinical research and the data which is included in the clinical research and what is the science included in clinical research. Advanced diploma, advanced PG diploma in pharmacovigilance and drug safety, where you will be used to handle the situations that how you can do pharmacovigilance in respect to the drug safety or safety of the drugs. Advanced diploma in drug regulatory affairs and certification course in applied statistics in clinical trials and clinical data mapping, which is series standards, and PG diploma in data management and statistical analysis software, which is data management and SAS, and certificate course in medical affairs. So these are the courses which are being offered by Clinosol. Why Clinosol is best? The reason behind this, the Clinosol is private limited firm and it is recognized under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and it's already MSME registered organization, and we have ISO 9001 certification. We have got IPA National Award last year for the highest placement, and the next one is highest placement record. Every time we look at the placements, that's the outcome we get. And expert industry trainers, like 15 years plus trainers like me, are going to give you training on interactive and practical real-time based learnings and hassle-free online classes as well as offline classes. Complementary courses such as communication skills and industry readiness and Excel aptitude are being given. Industry expert interaction every week, one interactions with industry and industries and CRO visit. Last year we have gone to 4 CROs along with students who have asked so many questions to the CEOs of the industries. And we allow the students to write blogs. We have own blogspot, which is Clinosol Research Blogspot, and review articles and research articles and leadership skills enhancement for future leaders and entrepreneurship are also being encouraged. And I would like to thank you everyone who have patiently listening to this session. And to know more about this clinical research and data management and pharmacovigilance, you have a lot of scope in Unani, irrespective of what type of drug you are using. the best idea is to use the drug in a right term and right manner. So to know more information about our courses or our placements or our openings, you can call on these numbers, and the mail ID is clinosolhr@gmail.com and website is Clinosol. You can also follow us on Facebook, which is Clinosol Research Private Limited, Instagram, which is Clinosol Research, and LinkedIn, it is Clinosol Research, and Google also you can search in Clinosol Research, and Bing also you can search in the Clinosol Research. So that's about today's topic, and thank you for listening patiently. And have a nice, wonderful day. Thank you.